Welcome back to My Interpreter. Today we're covering the finale of Andor. So, first thoughts. What?
I don't know.
I guess I'll start. I have grown appreciation for the first 6 episodes that I did not have when watching them, because I actually kind of like how they're doing these like gaps. I like how they've been consistent with the BBY 4, BBY 3, BBY 2, BBY 1.
So I was watching a TikTok last night. I like the original idea where each year was supposed to be its own season, but the problem that they were having with it is it took 2.5, 3 years to make the seasons.
Yeah.
And Cassian, what's his name? The actor?
Diego.
He was going to be like in his 50s going into the last season at the pace they're going at. And it was like, I kind of wish we would have got that. Honestly, I think I would have more appreciation for the show. Not saying that I don't have appreciation for the show. I think I would have more appreciation for the show if we were able to get those 5 seasons. I think it would be better.
Well, I think the way they did it was still nice, though, because
I think so, too. I think the way they did it is a lot better than just, like, jumping hella time all at once. The first 6 episodes were pretty rough for me to get into it, like the jumping years, because I was like, all right, the first 6
I didn't know that was going to be a constant thing.
I did. I thought we talked about it.
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe just seeing it felt different then.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting concept. I was watching a video last night, and it was like the director was like, I don't think this has ever been done before in TV. Like, they're constantly doing that. And he came up with the idea after they realized that 5 seasons in our time wouldn't actually work out because, like we just said, they'd be all way too old for this to mean anything at that point. And it's like, I don't know. I think they did it the best way that they could. I still think it would have been better with the 5 seasons, though.
Yeah. Obviously, like, that would have been dragging.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, I don't want to say we shit on it the first 2 like episodes we did of it, but at the same time, like,
I don't think we really did the first 3. It was mainly
it was because I thought, like, that's the thing with this show is even these back 6 episodes, it wasn't like crazy shit was happening. It was just there was like more things happening that are like Star Wars World-esque.
So when I was watching it last night, I watched the 3 episodes, and the first episode happened, and it like, it kind of was not like, we talked about it being more actiony, and it really wasn't. And we started the episode, and I was like, it's not going to be, because we're already getting Rogue One, and it's part of the same like story. So I'm like, when we originally thought this was going to be more action-packed, I immediately, watching the first episode last night, episode 10, I was like, no, it's not going to be at all, because that's what Rogue One is.
Well, it's not that it's like actiony, but like things with Star Wars there are like the blowing up scenes, the fighting scenes, the death scenes, and stuff like that. And not that we were like, it was. I think the first 6 episodes were just weird because it was kind of none of that. Mm-hmm. And so like, there's like the argument on the internet right now is if this is Star Wars or feels like Star Wars or if it doesn't feel like Star Wars. And I see both sides of it because obviously it is Star Wars. We're talking about shit in Star Wars. We're talking about the rebellion versus the Empire and the creation. But I do see where there are people who are in Star Wars because they like the flying and diving out of explosions and the shooting the lightsabers. And like, I feel like we're in this weird divide of people wanting to hate each other because people want prestige television and then other people want like not classical Star Wars, but like what Star Wars has been the last like 20, 30 years.
The biggest thing that I saw is Star Wars was super, the word mystical. Star Wars was super mystical in 4, 5, and 6. And then even throughout the prequels and then the Clone Wars and Rebels, it's super mystical with the Force and this and that. And that's what Star Wars was to everybody for so long.
But this is something that I thought about too. With the Rogue One into 4, 5, 6, and then into even 7, 8, 9, there is this like question of characters of, is the Force even real? And I feel like that's showing. I haven't even seen anybody talk about this, but like I feel like we're in that phase of like we're phasing out what the Force is because people are forgetting. And I think they
like
are
in Star Wars.
In Star Wars, and like I don't know if they tried to do that. I don't know if they'll claim to do that. But
that's a good theory.
We're getting to the point where we're things are happening where we're phasing the Force out, and that's why we don't see it in this show.
Well, also if you think about it, like all right, like the prequels, and then all of time before that, there's always thousands of Jedi, and then
thousands of Sith. At some
one
point,
there was thousands of Sith, and we knew that the Force was a thing. Everybody had seen everybody.
But there's a key. This is one of the lines that I'll say was like a good line is in 7, 8, 9 was the Han Solo line where he's like, it's real, and like all that kind of shit like that. That is one of the lines that I always was like, oh, this is a good segment with Han Solo, because of how much when we know what happens and all that other shit. But I thought that was a good route that they were going. Now they took an immediate U-turn and then went 8 different directions and drove 400 miles the other way once they did that kind of stuff, because then we just started going overboard. But I think that's like kind of how I started looking at it. We have to look at Star Wars in those gaps as like we're losing the Force in a way.
There's a lot less people that's just there using
it. The Emperor's trying to kind of hide it.
Mm-hmm.
He wants everybody to forget about that. They want everything to be like, this is Imperial rule and this is how it's going to be. That's where someone like Dedra doesn't even understand. Like, if a Force user came up to some of the characters in this show, they'd be fucking confused. Because no one in the show has the Force.
Yeah.
So
I've never thought about it that way, and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, like the mystical argument of what Star Wars was, like even in the original trilogy, we get to see a lot of like mystical stuff, and then there's no way people don't know who Darth Vader is, so they know that it's there.
Well, at this time, he's not being flaunted. He's getting to the point where he's being flaunted, but he's not like everybody knows who he is.
And I get it. And obviously, like with how big the galaxy is, not everybody's gonna know who Darth Vader is, anyways. But I don't know. Like I see the argument that it's like, I mean, the kid that I am still is like, listen, like.
I was like, where's that going?
The mystical aspect of Star Wars was Star Wars to me.
And see, I think this is the divide. And what you're saying as like mystical is like Andor is taking Star Wars to a realistic in our world. Mm-hmm. And I know there's been stuff that some people have said about the director and how the director doesn't exactly like the prequels. I don't even know if he even likes the original trilogy, but I think that's just like a respect. Like, you just have to respect it. But I'm pretty sure the dude who did Andor doesn't like the prequels, doesn't care about Clone Wars, Rebels, and all that kind of shit. So he took Star Wars to let's make this a great TV show, and we're going to put Star Wars on the title.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of scenes, especially in this last one, where they're sneaking through the hospital and they're doing this. It feels very like our type of television stuff, like almost like a spy type thing, and I get why people are upset that it doesn't feel like Star Wars, but I feel like there's this divide of it's prestige, it's great. Why the fuck are you guys complaining? Where that's also not the take you should be taking. And then there's like, well, it's not fucking Star Wars. Go fuck yourself. Well, I don't know why there isn't a meet in the middle. Where
and for the record, like it might sound like I just don't like the show at all. That's not the case. For the record, it might seem that way, but like I feel like I'm somewhere closer to the middle than not.
And I get it. The people who like and love Andor and think it's the best thing that Star Wars has made since like the originals. You can say that all you want, but you also can't be mad at people who are still in the magical realm of Star Wars.
Right.
Like, as much as we get to see Jedi the Force and all that other stuff, that's what some people fell in love with, so that's what they think Star Wars is.
Right.
And we're seeing this in other franchises, where other franchises are pivoting from what people are used to, and they're not liking it. Star Wars is getting lucky that they're still making good shows that are the pivot point of Star Wars.
Right.
And I know we say stuff about Marvel. Marvel pivoted and it failed.
I mean, I don't think
now
that...
they're getting back to their roots. There's some stuff that came out that's been good, but there was a chunk of time where it was hell.
I mean, going back to Andor specifically for a second, I don't think it's taking away from the story at all. If anything, it's adding to the story because it's the start of the rebellion. It's the start of what happens in the original trilogy.
And that's what I'm getting to. I think people are there's the people who are just punching at the fact that it's prestige television and that you see this camera angle and this. And there's other people looking at it like, I don't feel like this is Star Wars when it really is. You just have to look at it through the lens that there's no Jedi that are in this. There is no rebellion to, because like I feel like even without the Jedi, we still obviously through the originals you have Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda that you're looking at,
right?
And you're not looking at them, so now it just feels like, damn, like this doesn't feel like all the other Star Wars, and it's like it's kind of supposed to be like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't like I said, I like the mystical aspect of Star Wars, and I think I do lean a little bit towards that side. Again,
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of people do. I lean that way.
I think I lean that way a lot, but this show has brought a whole new perspective to everyone. I think with like the start of the rebellion, like dude, like we just were like, oh, these guys got together and just started attacking the Death Star.
And one other thing that I am really like, I don't know how to put it, like happy about, thankful for. I'm glad that there was not just random push in of just a random character that we did not need to see.
Right.
I'm almost like happy that there wasn't like this weird Darth Vader scene in the show because it didn't need it. And like there's a show that we covered previously that threw two characters into it that didn't fucking need to be in the show at all.
Right.
And then we're just left puzzled because it may or may not have got canceled. So I like how this show, like, other than the fact that it has to go into Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Princess Leia. There's no Vader. We don't even see the Emperor. He's just talked about. And I'm glad they did that.
So the creator thought about bringing the Emperor in, and I'm not sure for what exactly. I think it could have been cool to see him like in a Senate meeting. Like when Mon Mothma was
the thing is at a certain point he stopped going.
Right. But when Mon Mothma made her like huge speech, I think it would have been really cool to see him like stand there with his hood up because he doesn't want anybody to see him.
No, but it makes sense that he's not there.
Yeah,
because she would have been killed.
Well,
but at the same time,
but would he kill her in front of everybody?
Fuck it.
Because like you said, he tried to really hide that aspect. I don't know if they know that he's like.
Well, they don't. That is a good point. But at the same time, like,
I would have liked to have seen.
I think the chase would have been a bigger chase.
I think it would have been right, and I think it would have been cool to like see him with his hood up because he doesn't want anybody to see him, and then we just like see a little like panel like underneath, and he just like has like a little smirk or something. I thought it would have been kind of cool, and that's like all it would have been.
I thought
I was more pleased.
The bridge scene at the end where they're showing the Death Star. I thought there was going to be like a breathing sound in the background, and then it just like cut. I thought that could have been okay.
I don't know what I thought the last scene was going to be. They kept like paneling and kept changing shit at the end, and there was like no talking, and they just kept showing a bunch of
I liked
scenes.
that though.
I did too, but I was like, I don't know what the last little bit's going to be.
And dude, this is the thing: is the show is shot fantastically. That is a great like sets of scenes of. We don't even have to fucking talk for the last 4 minutes.
I mean,
we're just gonna show you where people are going.
Again, it was just like how real it is. Like Andor has this.
Good.
You can go. It's fine.
Well, I was gonna kind of like twist.
Yeah, you're fine.
The subject.
You can go.
There are a few things about the show that I do have a little bit of gripe with.
Oh, nice. Let's go. Let's hear him.
I don't think Bail Organa was portrayed in the way I thought he would be.
It was weird.
He was very arrogant dickhead, and he was never like that. I didn't particularly.
I mean, for to argue rebuttal against that, it was scary times.
Yes, but he was never like that. He witnessed Order 66. He was not like that.
I mean, I get it, but like, it was scary times for the rebellion and everything going on.
And dude, maybe it's just because I know there was issues. I can't get out of my head that it just doesn't feel like Bail Organa because it's not.
Right, but then also think about it. If Cassian would have been caught, that would have fucked everything up for the entire original trilogy. Obviously, he wasn't going
yes
to.
And no.
I mean, But that's like the weight that was there. If he was caught and like followed,
What's the thing? We know he's not caught.
right? But like, if he was, like,
That's
you
the
got
beauty of TV, baby.
I know, but I'm just like giving you the aspect of what Bale's thinking.
Yeah, but I feel like he was very like not how he was.
I just think
And maybe that's because he was looking at, he now has Leia, and maybe he's thinking differently. But
that's true. I mean, we also see him in Kenobi, and he's like scared shitless. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but even then, I don't feel like he's the way he is. Like,
he
he's a
was
fucking dick.
He was kind of rude to Obi-Wan. Like, you need to fucking go get her. He was
Well, it's because his daughter.
right,
kinda.
but like, you know what I'm saying? Though I think that was like the start of it, and then this is 10 years later, almost like 5-ish, leading up to it. It's
Yeah.
a year each time, like 9 years later, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, a lot has fucking happened, and I mean that's just like kind of character development. Like he's getting like to a point where it's taking a toll on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, maybe it's just because I don't.
I think it's
needed
just,
it to be the original guy.
I just think
Maybe it's just that the fact that I keep fucking. Is his name Jimmy Smith? Is that his name?
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know. I feel like he's also a softer spoken person than the guy that they chose.
Yes,
And maybe that's
I
it.
think that's why, because I was just thinking about like his voice.
And that's nothing against the guy, because like I think the guy actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's definitely been in other things that I've seen, or he wasn't like a nobody. Like he's a good actor.
I think it was just mainly like his voice and like his tone, which is where they went with the character. And like
yeah.
I
he's
understand.
more like straightforward, stern than what the original one was.
Right.
And maybe that's it, but I don't know. Like it's not a big gripe, but that was it. And then I actually did see this. People were talking about how what's the exact name of the red little droid? Is it BMO?
It's B.
Yeah, B. I saw some people complaining that they just abandoned him. And they technically didn't. We got back to the end where we see him again. But he never gets to see Cassian again.
Nope.
And that's
Cassian
another thing.
never gets to see his baby ever.
So that's another thing that I kind of have a gripe with.
Why?
Because, like, you basically added a layer to the story of, like, this is Cassian's kid, and Cassian will never know that he has a kid.
See, what I think...
That's kind of fucked up.
I think it plays into the story because she just left, and, like, there was really, like...
Yeah, but...
No, but listen.
Bix never even finds out that he dies. I mean, she
think
may, but we'll never see that.
I think she's just assuming at some point. Because the way Cassian is, Cassian was going to go get her.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so...
It's kind of fucked.
I actually think it was pretty good because it made it to where there was an actual reason for why she left other than,
Yeah,
let's just
but,
make
like-
sure Cassian does what he needs to do, right? No, she fucking left because she fucking knew he was done.
Yeah.
Like, he was definitely
But
not...
isn't that fucked?
I mean,
She
yeah,
left
it's
because-
fucked.
She left because he knew that he would leave with her and it would be a hinder on the rebellion.
Yeah.
But let him stay, didn't tell him he has a kid, and then he dies not knowing he has a kid. Now this kid has to fucking grow up without a parent.
I mean, yeah, no, it's
Without one of his parents. That sounded a little weird.
I think either way it's fucked. I mean, it's less fucked the other way. Just the rebellion's gonna
It'd be
struggle.
different if the guy on that planet survived, and he could become like his kinda dad. But they killed that fucking guy too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so terrible with names. I'm really sorry. I'm terrible. with them.
Cassian's best friend. I don't even remember his name now.
Yeah,
either.
but the planet him and his wife lived on, the cornfield planet
Right.
or whatever. It looked like cornfields.
But no, I think that added a layer to where it made more sense for why she left, because the reasons why we thought she left, like, kind of just were like bullshit reasons in my opinion. Like,
I mean, no.
just fucking stay and help. Like, any help is needed. That's what I was thinking.
Well, she was also a hindrance on the rebellion.
Yes and no, because I think once she fucking like got revenge,
Well, she
I
was
think she
hindering
was fine.
Cassian.
Because she was pregnant.
Well, no, she was hindering Cassian because they need Cassian to be Cassian, and if they're together, he's not.
I mean, I guess.
He second guesses everything that gets told. I mean, he doesn't follow orders anyway, but
Okay, we just jumped to the last episode. Lutheran killing himself. Crazy. About lost my fucking mind.
knew there was a reason they showed that knife.
Well, right at
But
the
I couldn't figure out what it was, and then you just see. I was like, Oh, dude.
Right at the fucking beginning when it like paneled to him. First of all, him killing the spy that he had. What the fuck was his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know names.
Dude, the spy that he had that he just killed, I thought that was nuts.
Well, we had to kill him.
And then it paneled to the scene with him and what the hell's the assistant's name? I can't remember any of these names, dude. I'm so bad with names.
Yeah.
When it paneled to them on the staircase and then they like walked away, I was like, he's gonna die. Like, one of them's dying for sure, and I think it's gonna be him.
Yeah.
And then it showed Dedra, and I was like, it's definitely gonna be him. And then she went to the shop, and I was like, ah, shit.
Clea.
All the past stuff with Clea, the blowing up the bridge and shit, and she was gonna do it, and he stopped her from like killing hundreds of people.
Yeah, dude.
Fucking nuts.
I am glad that they went through her background better.
Yeah.
And like why she is the way she is and how they were together. And that's the thing, like I feel like they definitely unloaded the fuck out of this show. And now getting to the end of it, I don't mind. But in the moment, watching it like week per week, the first like 6 episodes, not that they're like hard to get to, but it like it's hard to like understand why characters are doing things that they're doing. And like I guess that shows like how this was supposed to be like 5 fucking seasons, or it could have been like a fucking trilogy of movies. But
Right.
I definitely think some more like flashbacks riddled into the beginnings of them would have been a little bit of like,
I mean, we did, but
knowing of the character.
We did, but it was Cass as a kid.
It was all Cassian. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
We don't understand why Luthen's doing what he's doing until
Not
we
gonna
figure out
lie,
what he's doing.
When I first watched episode 10 last night, I was kind of mad. Because it was good, but like I was mad. I was like, dude, I'm just so sick of the show being called Andor and he's never on the fucking screen. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. But I was like, at least it was a really good fucking episode.
Yeah, like,
like
they could have called the show like the beginning of the.
I feel like calling it Andor was the biggest horseshit in the world. Like, I don't like that it was called Andor because I just don't think it makes sense. Because then we get to
I think it'd have been better if it was called Luthen.
Well, then we get to the point.
I think he's the more pivotal character at this point.
I mean, or like not rebels because they have rebels.
It would be called the Rebellion.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it would have been better because like just calling it Andor. Like, sure, season 1 was heavier about Andor, but season 2 really wasn't. It was about like the whole rebellion, which is fine. That's not a problem. But I just feel like it was kind of clickbaity to call it Andor. You know what I mean?
Because it's just a character that everybody knows.
Well, a character everybody likes.
I mean, they kind of like. Obviously, it's a different director, but like people felt that way about Obi-Wan and Boba Fett.
Well,
He threw names on the front of them.
Boba Fett's a different. Boba Fett's different.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. I feel like calling it Andor is
would
just
be,
like
it would be like. I had an example, but it didn't really align exactly. But I'm like, it'd be like if they made a movie before The Mandalorian and just called it Din.
I don't know. I just feel like calling it Andor was really weird. Like for season 1, it was
season
whatever.
1 it makes sense. Season 2, it's
Right.
it's different.
And like I don't know, like you said, like the Rebellion or something. I feel like would have been a better title for this show. Something.
I think they definitely made the title for the first season, and then they made a second season, even though they knew that it was going to get greenlit, basically. But
well, they apparently had a 5-season plan, so.
And like you said, like, so with like Dedra showing up at his office, I thought that was a fucking power move, kind of.
Yeah, it was.
And like shows up, and then she was like, "I really have something," and she pulls out that thing.
Yeah.
Like, pulls out. I was like, "Oh fuck, he's made. He's made." And that's another thing. I feel like with the year gap, it makes sense that they're like going straight into it. I kind of would like to have seen how they figured out. How she like figured out that it was Luthen.
Well, they talked about it. It was like,
yeah, but I kind of wish we would have
Right.
saw that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a cool scene to see. That's
Yeah.
something that's where it's just like, all right, go back to the 5-season idea. I think we could have gotten so much more. Like,
Yeah.
like
Well, obviously.
like, well, right, but like the stuff on Yavin, like all of a sudden it just appeared. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Well, they show Yavin with Saul Guerrero. They show it early on, and then a year later, you see what Yavin's become.
right, but still, like, you.
But
could
yeah,
have
like
had-
you don't see that like that first touchdown of like putting shit on
Right.
Yavin.
You could have had so many things like that. The Dedra finding out the information.
Yeah. Sorry, were you still going?
She didn't even care about Cyril.
Yeah, we didn't see. She didn't even talk. They didn't talk about that at all. And I'm like, I guess that explains her like coming in hot and ready against Luthen and
Turn
shit.
the lights off.
You gotta stop doing that. But so that happens, and he's burning all of those where they like contact people, which I thought was like a. I love how Luthen and Clea have just protocols for everything.
Yeah.
And I love to see Luthen breaking down. Like, I can't remember everything. Like,
Right.
this is getting real. Like, there's so many titles and names and things. Like, I just.
So many open communications.
Yeah.
Just everything.
I can't keep track.
Even in the
Such a dude. I love that guy.
Even in the safe house, when Clea was just breaking the walls and shit to get the fucking
Yeah,
shit.
dude, there's
like,
a plan
it's
for
crazy.
everything. And, like, yeah, that was so good. And, so when he stabs himself, number one, I was like, what the fuck? Number two, they, like, get him the fuck out of there. What the fuck machine? Like, they had the weirdest machine that was, like, attached to him. It looked like it was, like, obviously it's, like, a breathing type thing and, like, trying to, like, keep him alive. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And this is another thing, like, and we've talked about this before, the weird progression of Star Wars technology, because they had the technology of, like, the 70s and 80s, so all the technology is, like, ancient looking. We jump to the prequels, and it's like, dude, this technology's fucking crazy.
But then
we're in this middle gap where we have to get back to that, so now we're back to, like, shitty technology.
But also what's funny is that they had to do in the prequels versus the originals, like when Luke gets his own hand, and it, like, looks like a hand, and then when Anakin gets his hand cut off, it has to be robotic.
Yeah, and they, like, but somehow the robotic hand still looks fucking awesome.
Right.
Like,
But it's like, all right, like, we're taking a step up in, like, our world in, like, technology and everything, that everything looks better, but at the same time, like, they went backwards. But, like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know.
yeah,
It's funny.
It's weird. You have to play this middle. Like I said, like, when Cyril was on Gorman, everything looked like it was, like, 1980s Soviet Union. Like, it was weird looking.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. We get that scene, and then I think the one dude, the, like, security guy who, like, comes and arrests Dedra, that character's so weird.
Yeah.
He's, like, on a power trip, but at the same time, like, I don't care about, like, the honor, glory, whatever the hell he said. But it's weird. And then, like, going back to the other guy, like, him and the spy were, like, kind of, like, in it together, and he just, like, stole Dedra's shit.
Yeah.
And that's, like, such a good cover, and then he ends up dead, so it makes it look like Dedra's even more at fault.
Yeah.
Like, Dedra went and killed this motherfucker after, you know, stole her shit. But I thought it was weird, too, like, she kind of, like, explains how she was on, like, the outs all the time, and so she had to just steal information. And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense, but fuck, dude.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to, like, and dude, and we get to the one scene where the one guy just fucking kills himself instead of facing the Emperor.
I mean, yeah, I would have.
And see, this is another thing. In our world, in our movies, that seems like such a realistic thing.
Yeah.
But we've also never really seen that in Star Wars. So I get both sides of this argument of it doesn't feel like Star Wars or it does feel like Star Wars. There are things that are like, this doesn't necessarily feel like all the other Star Wars we have. Like, there's been gruesome shit. Shit has happened that's insane. Burning people alive, choking people, snapping their necks, slicing them in half. There are things, but, like, there are certain things that make it feel so like our world that I understand why people are like, yeah, like, why, like, there's two ends to it. Of course people would kill themselves in Star Wars. Like, that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't people do it? But at the same time, it's like, oh, we've never seen someone kill themselves in Star Wars, so it's like, is this a stretch? And, like, I feel like there's this weird middle ground that the show was kind of like, we're going to do some things and do some things and not do others. And people were kind of, like, divided by it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Because, like, there are, like, these things that are from this world of Star Wars. Like, there's spice, there's drugs, they're selling death sticks, they're drinking these blue alcoholic drinks and stuff like that. And then there's, like, these dancers and these clubs and Mos Eisley, and there's all this other stuff, but there's never been, like, the scene that happened earlier with Bix. We've never, like, it's implied that could happen, but to have it, like, not say that was I was gonna say thrown in your face, but like to be shown is like it's hard to say that I see both sides because like this show is supposed to be doing all of those things, so it makes sense.
And it did it. I think it did it very well. It did it successfully, and that's the thing with the show. That's why everybody likes it. But
this is the thing is I feel like that does take out that magic you were talking about of some of it. Where yes, like it makes sense that definitely would have been happening. Like these empire power trips of these individual imperial officers like having power trips. Like that makes sense. That probably did happen, but we've never really gotten that. And a lot of people already were on the fence of like, oh, dude, I like seeing the Force. I like seeing the Jedi. I like doing this and like this. And when you don't get that and then they go that far, like I know there's people who like didn't like it or don't watch it because of that. And I feel like there is like, I don't know how to like, because I see both sides of it. And it's weird that there's this massive divide between it.
Yeah. It's just... I don't know. It's complicated because it's like, all right, you made this show super real, which is why this show is so successful.
It's because go ahead.
But at the end of the day, that's not what Star Wars has been for 40 years or more at this point. I don't even know. And
it's pushing 50.
Yeah, it's
2 years, baby.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's like the Star Wars that we all like, most of us grew up with watching. This isn't that anymore. And it's like, all right, like, there's nothing.
But, and that's the thing is it is because we're talking about the stuff that happened when we were like, we're getting to the point of A New Hope and Rogue One.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I do see like the middle things are not what Star Wars was, and I kind of hate both ends of the argument because there's the people who are like, this is not this, so I'm just not going to watch it. This isn't Star Wars to me. Like, that sucks because I don't want them to stop making shows. If this is the only thing that they're going to give us, then I'll take it. Right. I'll take the prestigeness of that kind of stuff. Because at a certain point, we're going to get prestige Force and the characters that we want.
Right.
But you have to let shows like this thrive, which it is.
I mean,
then I hate the other argument where there's like the prestigeness is just being like, you're finally getting this end of Star Wars and you guys hate it. And it's like, no, we've wanted the stories in between 3 and 4. But it's the adding of like putting it in our world.
Right. I mean, that was like kind of similar topic to like The Acolyte, where we talked about how The Acolyte felt like it was a show to like be a pretest to go out of the Skywalker saga to see if it could be successful. And then on top of that, we all know how the stories and everything went, and it was not successful. And it's like, are we actually going to get any more now?
See, this is the problem, is I felt like that show, and you're going to have to let me finish, that show was what we thought Star Wars was. It was the lightsabers, it was the Force, it was the Sith versus the Jedi, it was this beginning of this, like, Jedi, like, cops type thing, going across galaxy and fixing issues. Where they failed that show is the people who made the show don't know what the fuck Star Wars is. So they're taking a surface level knowledge of, wow, there's the Force and swords. And they're like, we're just going to do shit. And we're just going to bring in these 4 or 5 characters who mean nothing to the story, but people love these characters. And it's all going to work together. We're just going to mash. They made a sandwich that had just like weird shit on it. Like,
Right. So back to why I brought The Acolyte up in general is right. It's like you said, Andor, if that's what we're going to get, we need to let it be successful because it's actually good. Comparatively speaking between the two, we have Andor, it's actually good, and like you said, if we let this thrive, eventually we'll get other shit.
And that sounds fucked up. I'm not saying Andor is this gateway to getting what we want.
Right.
Andor is what we want. Now, I do think they could knock down one level of prestige to add more of this sci-fi fantasy magic of Star Wars.
I absolutely agree with that, yeah.
And that's the thing is I feel like this is the problem that they've had with Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Kenobi is that some scenes were super Star Wars and super prestige. And then other scenes were just like, what the fuck are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing with like Kenobi's like the most perfect example. When Obi-Wan and Vader are on the screen, the show is fantastic, and even dare I say prestige. There are great shots, great dialogue, great writing. But then we have this scene where Leia's running from these pirates and these like shit like that. That's like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? And like I can fully admit that for someone who likes the Kenobi show because of the Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, and Vader scenes and like that, and the flashbacks of that kind of shit. The problem is that like we're on this weird thing where Andor like was prestige and it was about Star Wars, but we're gonna take it from this perspective, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Mm-hmm. And it was super successful. Whereas like I feel like there's always been a finger in all of these other shows of like, well, I want you to add this part.
Yeah.
And like the thing with Kenobi was supposed to be like a movie, a trilogy, 2 seasons. It was supposed to be all this shit, and then it somehow got knocked down to a tiny budget and this super like short type show. Mm-hmm. And you have scenes with younger Leia that don't need to be in it. The running away scene on her home planet where she gets captured, and then we have this super heavy Reva-ness of it, where it didn't need to be like that. And if it was 12 episodes, I feel like we could have gotten away from that.
Right.
But it got super, like, it feels like someone had a hand in, like, at the top level of Star Wars that just was, like, grabbing it. And I feel like with Andor, it just was like, this guy seems to know what he's doing and people like it. We just let go and let him do what he wanted.
Right.
And with how they're doing stuff now where it is either they're bringing in prestige people and or they're letting Favreau and Filoni do everything. Huh?
Andor.
Everything's Favreau, Filoni, and or they're letting these super good directors do it. Mm-hmm. I think there is going to be this, dare I say, like, could be a golden era of Star Wars coming. And I think Andor's the start of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, we were starting to get, like, Ahsoka was good, but I have gripes with, like, where the story's going. But, like, it was good. I think these, like, upcoming things can be like that.
Yeah.
But we need to stop with the fucking arguing. Don't get me wrong. Like, Andor's not my favorite thing that they ever made.
It's
and
not, no.
I definitely am on your side of I prefer the magic, the sword, the lightsabers, the Force, and the characters I love. Not saying I can't get away from the characters I love, or them showing, like, a perfect example was Tales of the Underworld. Mm-hmm. You brought back a character that I love, Cad Bane. They could have made that live action and had a prestiginess to it because he's a character you can do prestige with. Right. And that's the issue. I think there are characters that you can't do prestige with. And it's because they have a fucking lightsaber. And I get that. You could, but like I said, you could knock down the prestige and up the magic and it still work. Mm-hmm. But we're kind of in this luau of waiting for it. Because even with The Mandalorian, you have Luke, who's a character that everybody loves, come back. And I thought the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian were fantastic. Mm-hmm. Now, the third one, I don't know what the fuck happened.
There was a couple weird random episodes,
yeah.
but
yeah. But like I feel like we're in a good spot, and I just wish people would stop.
Yeah.
Because
dude, Ahsoka season 2 is coming out. Dave Filoni has all this other shit going on that he's doing, and I'm just like, dude, there's so much from just Dave Filoni that's going to be great. And like you said, with bringing all these people in that can write something that's fantastic or direct something that's fantastic, we have a lot of potential in the future. And that's what we just all need to realize.
Yeah.
So
and like, yeah, I fuck, I'm repeating myself, but Andor's great. We're not saying that.
No, Andor.
But
really
I do think that the people who have issues with Andor, like the individual scenes, you can't just immediately be like both ends can't be like just absolutely going at each other of this and this I don't feel like with Star Wars, and this other and then like the prestige end being like, you guys just don't like good TV. Like, that's a horrible argument.
Right.
Because everybody wants the shit to be good.
I
now there are like the haters who are gonna hate everything because they hate everything, but
I don't know. I just feel like, all right, we have Star Wars that's been established, and then we have Andor, which is a new leading up to what was established. But it's like, if you think, and my opinion, if you think Andor is the best thing in Star Wars, do you really like all of Star Wars?
In what way? Like storytelling, it's not. It's probably the best shot thing.
Yeah.
But it's also because it's the newest thing out. The quality of everything is fantastic, and it just will
I just mean, like, all right, we talk about Star Wars and how it was like...
You're saying, like, if you think Andor is the best thing that Star Wars has made for the Star Wars universe, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it is, obviously, because Star Wars is that magic.
I mean, that's all, like, we're trying to say is that right there is, like, if you think Andor is, like, the best thing in Star Wars, the best thing, I just feel like you don't like Star Wars.
Well, and it's not that, like... The first 3 movies, I think there's like just a consensus of what they are.
Right.
They are gonna go down as if not already, historical television movies. With especially the 5th one being considered one of the best movies of all time for the world building, the shooting, the scenes, the dialogue, and all that kind of stuff. It is what it is. I think there is people coming around to the prequels because it solidifies this like circle of the 6 of it being the Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there definitely is like there's parts that we don't like of this, parts that we don't like of that, and that could be said about the original trilogy too. Like, I would say a lot of people's gripe with it is that it looks like it was made in the 70s, but we also have to accept that it was made in the 70s and 80s. But there are gripes. And don't get me wrong, but the first 6 movies are Star Wars. That is the bread and butter. That is Star Wars. The person who created Star Wars, who wrote Star Wars, who did this, that is what he envisioned Star Wars was. And that's the fucking... I've heard the argument of like someone who may or may not have done a show that got canceled was like, yeah, he just is not... George Lucas doesn't know what Star Wars is.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, you should be fired.
I think there's people that are on the projects to say that shit. There's influencers that have said that about George Lucas, and I'm like, how the hell does he not know what Star Wars is when he fucking created it?
And like, there is this thing where like it's kind of like once you create something and give it to the world gets to interpret what it is.
Yeah,
and I get that.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have the thing that you're interpreting unless that guy was there.
Right,
so
but
like,
I also think with the aspect of even the first 6 movies is like, all right, like we talk about the mystical aspect. That's why like people fell in love with it because they actually don't really know. You know what I mean? And now we're just getting to the point like where we just like know everything. Or like the shows are like centered around like...
And don't get me wrong, I'm complaining about myself here because we're obviously like critics in a way. But like... everyone's not a director or a fucking movie critic and like a genius about this stuff. Like you going out of your way to being like Andor's the best thing Star Wars has ever made because it just the storytelling and the way it was shot and the director's vision of it was so fantastic. And it's like you can have that opinion, but when it's all said and done, like the first 6 movies are Star Wars. That is what Star Wars was. And it's hard because I don't want to take anything from Andor because I think Andor's great. Mm-hmm. But I feel the same way about Rogue One, where people try to say that Rogue One's the best Star Wars movie. It might be the best shot movie. It's not the best movie. Mm-mm. It's not, in my opinion. I think
it's not the best Star Wars movie. That's the key. That's the key word right there. Is Star Wars, not movie, because it's like, all right, like you said, how it looks, how the storytelling and all this other shit that goes into movies and shit. Yeah, it's one of the better ones. Yeah. But the issue is,
but that's the thing is the 7th movie is also fantastic when it comes to that stuff.
Dialogue's kind of bad.
I wouldn't say it's
when
bad.
I rewatched it, it was definitely like kind of choppy.
But that's the thing. It has like there is some dialogue is okay. Or if anything, I don't even actually know.
But everybody talks about dialogue and all of Star Wars being bad, so whatever.
It's one of those things that's like, is dialogue and the stuff that's like Star Wars great? No, none of it is. And that's the thing. Star Wars is like, it's in a way, it's not supposed to be prestige.
Right.
Now you can make it prestige and it still be great. We just saw it.
Yeah.
You can also make it really fucking dumbed down and stupid and get shit canceled. Um, but at the same time, like, comparing things to Star Wars is hard because Star Wars is such its own thing. So you can't come into Star Wars and be like, wow, why did they do that? Or why'd they do this? And like I know a lot of people hate the second movie. And it's like, if you look at it as a story, it's great. If you look at it from a prestige eye, you're not going to be happy. And that's one of those things that you have to accept, that it's a story and not a prestige standalone movie. That movie is not a standalone movie. You need the trilogy for that movie to make sense.
The trilogy, the Clone Wars, everything surrounding. That's why I've said it thousands of times on this show. The reason why I like Star Wars is because of everything. I like individual movies. No, they're knocked down critically because it's not supposed to be viewed that way.
No, opposite. It's not knocked down. We knock it down as critics. They're critically shot up. Like Rogue One?
Well, right, but I mean, I'm talking more of like the actual like
storytelling. Critically, it's knocked down. Is that what you meant?
No, I just mean how like the prequels are just knocked down.
In what way? Like, what do you mean? Sorry,
critically, they're just not as good, supposedly. Like we went over the numbers. Like the numbers just show that the movies aren't as good. And I'm like, it's because the movies aren't...
Oh, you mean them as standalone... Okay, yeah. Okay. I thought you were meaning standalone movies. Like, no. That's the opposite. Those aren't standalone movies. No. Gotcha.
As standalone movies, they're critically horrific. And I'm like, that's not how this is supposed to be viewed as the viewer. These are supposed to be like...
I would say horrific. They're all 7s and shit. Or 6s.
No, they're not.
Isn't everything 5s. Higher than a 6?
No.
Well, whatever.
Well, IMDb maybe, but...
No, man. Keep going.
But no, this is all supposed to be watched as one whole story, not just one movie at a time.
And this is why I think there's the issue between the first 3 and then the next 3. Yeah. Because the original 3 movies were built to be standalone movies. You have a beginning and an end.
Well, right, especially the fourth one. The fourth one is absolutely supposed to be one movie.
Yeah. Whereas you get this first, people come back for this first movie in 99, and it's a standalone movie up until the very last scene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, we hit Anakin, he's got to go this way. The second movie is completely not a standalone movie at all. It is literally, here's a continuation of the story, here's like this somewhat end of... I mean, I guess you end...
No, you don't, because you start the Clone Wars.
Well, you start the Clone Wars, but the end of the movie has like an ending. Like, we're in this spot, we're getting to this point, Anakin and Padme are married. But it's not really an ending. It has an ending, but like, there's some movies that say to be continued. Like that, it's not like that. But it's definitely not. It's definitely not a movie that you can just like. This person's never seen Star Wars. Let's start on the second one. They're gonna really enjoy just the beginning and like the storytelling of this single movie. It's not how it was supposed to be. Right. It was supposed to entice you to go see the third movie.
Right.
And now, is that fucked up? Yep, it's fucked up. But, and then even at that, they got done with the third movie where there's this clear ending, and we're going, and now we're gonna get to episode 4 next.
Mm-hmm.
And they even were like, man, we really did jump a little bit. Let's go back and make a show that fixes a lot of shit. And now you can argue that that's like not the best way to do it, but
Star Wars is notorious for that. They've done everything ass backwards.
That's literally what Rogue One and Andor is. So if you're gonna complain about it, guess what? That's what this is. So if you were like, well, the first, like 1, 2, 3 make no sense if you don't have the Clone Wars in there. It's like, all right, cool.
Hey, it's there. Watch it.
Andor's literally, man, we just really don't know how the rebellion gets to this point. They went back and made a story, and it's called Andor. And then they did a movie called Rogue One. Yeah. Like, there was questions about how they got these Death Star plans and why Vader was chasing them so bad. There you go. It's what all of Star Wars is. So I don't want to hear that argument. But where the hell were we at? We just got off topic so hard.
This is all this episode's been specific. This is all this show is.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, listen, Andor, it's great.
Yeah, dude, it's a 9.
There's nothing wrong with it.
You have a rating?
No.
By the way, when we give ratings, we base ratings off of how we feel in the moment. I don't know a single thing that we've rated before and what that rating was. I just rate things in the moment.
I don't even know.
9. 3. I don't know why that feels right.
Are you basing it like so we've done it in the past where we like rate it critically and then
How much I liked it?
yeah.
Critically 9.3. Maybe 9.4. 9.3.76. I don't know why I did that. How much I liked it? 8.8. Maybe. 8.9.
I was gonna go.
I don't think it cracks a 9 for me because I don't think it's incredibly rewatchable for me personally.
I don't think I'm ever gonna rewatch.
I wouldn't say ever, but I'm one of those people that don't rewatch stuff.
Like I've told you
that much. So
I've never rewatched Rogue One, ever.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But
Well, that's
I've
my
seen
point.
it a couple times.
I am gonna rewatch it because
Yeah, we'll come back next week and talk about it.
I am gonna rewatch it because of the main actor. What'd you say his name was again? I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names.
Diego Luna.
Yeah, he told us to rewatch it after the show, so I'm gonna rewatch it just because of that. But would you give it critically 9.3, 9.4? Yeah, I might even go so far to say 9.5 critically.
I think I gave
But
Revenge
for-
of the Sith as like being like my favorite thing, like a 9.5. So that's why I gave it a 9.4. I don't know
That's
why in
fine.
my head. That's wrong thinking. Don't get me wrong. We're idiots. But yeah, I gave it
mean,
like a 9.3, 9.4,
I
and
think
then
nine-
I think I like it like an 8.8, 8.9.
I 9.4, 9.5 critically. Me liking it.
And the only reason I think it's there's probably people that think it's going to be like a 9.9, a 9.8, 9 or 10 out of 10. First off, nothing is 10 out of 10. I can find something to complain about everything. 1. 2, I do think Magic bumps it down a little bit, and then I do think the way that the story jumps a little bit, I'm going to knock it down a little bit just because I do think it was super end loaded.
And then, like I said, the 5 seasons would have been better.
And I just don't like Dedra.
I'm going to knock it down a little bit more than you with how much I like it.
Well, I mean, I think I like it more than you do anyway, so that makes sense.
But how low do I want to go?
If it goes lower than a number I have in my head, I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
Well, it's not going below an 8 at all.
That's still lower than I think it should be. I don't think you can say it's below an 8.5.
I was going to say 8.4.
And you're wrong.
I think 8.4. That just feels right.
All right.
I mean,
they're not going to yell at me in the comments. They're going to yell at you, so.
I don't know, man. Like,
You think it drops at 10 from what it prestige level to what you like?
I just think the biggest thing is I'm just not going to rewatch it. I think that's
yeah,
just the
but
thing
like,
for me.
we kind of talked about this off camera. Like, this is going to be completely left field, but like, I feel like Oppenheimer's a fantastic movie.
I've never seen Oppenheimer.
Well, I know because you don't watch things,
I
but
watch
like
Star
that
Wars,
shit is a
that's about it.
9.5, 9.6.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever rewatch it again because it's such a long, hard. Like, it's not a hard movie to watch, but it's long and it's brain taxing.
I don't know.
I might rewatch it like once or twice, but it's not something I'm gonna be like, let's watch Oppenheimer. Like, it's our yearly Oppenheimer watcher or our monthly. Like, that's crazy. But like,
I don't know, man.
I'm not a big rewatcher of things, anyways, though. So
I think I got an 8.4.
all right,
That's just where I'm at. I don't know.
yell at them in the comments.
I don't
We
know.
had a
Maybe,
second part to this video. We're not doing that.
Right. I mean, maybe I'll watch the movie and maybe that'll change my mind because he said that to watch it and it'll make you think differently of the movie. So maybe it will.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of want to see him in more things now. Like, not Star Wars things, but like just other
Yeah.
things. I wonder if he's in other, like, he's definitely in other stuff, but I don't know him from anything.
Right. But
Ooh,
yeah.
I forgot to talk about this. I do like how they're trying to figure out those code words, like Urso and all that. Like, that was also cool. I forgot to talk about that. Obviously, we know what all of those mean,
Right.
but them trying to figure out what it means is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even an 8.4, like, dude, that's not bad at all. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Don't defend your answer.
I mean, an 8.4 is not bad.
I don't know how it's below an 8.5 at least, but
I mean, it's right there.
yeah, no, but it's different.
8.4.
Difference between 8.4 and 8.5 is a lot.
8.499. It's perfect. I have IMDb score for
What is
it.
that? What was that? Season 2?
Does it say 2 seasons? Yeah, fuck you guys. Fuck everybody, okay? 8.4
That's critically,
IMDb.
Dick.
It doesn't matter. That's even worse.
No, that's the problem. Is there's 100 people who hate Star Wars who do Star Wars reviews, so they knock a fucking show down.
Listen, they said 8.4. I said 8.4. So I don't want to hear it.
Ah, shit.
What'd Rotten Tomatoes give it?
Does it matter?
Well, season 2 has it at like a 97 for season 2. What does it have
Shit.
what does it have for both seasons combined? 97 for both seasons? Bullshit.
Can you guess this one?
That's IMDb's.
Is this a show?
It's The Acolyte. Yeah.
Good. 4.2.
Because
That's high.
We did that. It is high.
I think we gave it a 3.
I don't remember what we gave it at all.
As I said, we don't remember things, nor do our opinions stay the same. So there's that.
I mean, our opinions don't matter either. So
Yeah. It matters to you guys, and we're thankful for that.
I don't think they care. But
We have a moment together, staring at your guys' eyes, your beautiful eyes. We just want to say thank you, guys.
thanks for listening to our bullshit. We'll see you next week.